what is leadership for you?
Right. That's a very, I could go on and on and on. But my ex-boss told me when you answer something, the maximum you should say is three things. So I'll limit it to three things. I
Okay.
think I think leadership is having clarity on the purpose and the vision of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose because you need to know why the organization exists. What is your greater purpose beyond just making profit,
Mm-hmm.
and of what service does your team have to the society, right? So that's purpose. Vision
Mm-hmm.
is where you want to take your team to, right? A leader who doesn't have a vision of a
Mm-hmm.
greater vision for his team is not a good leader in my book. Like, take a look at Lee Kuan Yew. He
Mm-hmm.
envisioned Singapore as a first world country, and
Yes.
look at Nelson Mandela, who had a vision of South Africa where the black people and the white people can live side by side, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's purpose and vision. I think that's number one. Second is, I think a good leader makes the people around him better, right? If not, you're a selfish person, and the selfish people don't make for a good leader. So a leader is there to make everyone around him better.
Mm-hmm.
And third of all, I think a good leader has the capability to build a culture
Mm-hmm.
that will sustain long after he's left, right?
Mm-hmm.
A culture of curiosity, a learning culture where people strive to do their best and they strive to keep improving continuously. So those three things. So it's driving purpose and vision, it's driving growth and development, and it's about driving the culture.
What would you say would be the top three problems that leaders would normally face?
Good question. Uh, I think related to my last answer about the fast pace of innovation, I
Mm-hmm.
think agility is going to be very, very important. The ability to decide quickly, right? To adjust your strategies, right? And to be agile, you need to be a continuous learner to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with the trends. But at the same time, part of agility, I think, is having the courage to make mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
the opposite of being agile is being rigid, right? Being so sigurista or being so sure because you don't want to make a
Right.
mistake. But
Mm-hmm.
to be agile, sometimes you need to take a leap into the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go with your hunch, with your gut
Mm-hmm.
feel. And sometimes you need to have the courage to say, okay, if I stay still, I'm going to fail. If I try something new, I may fail, but I may also succeed, right? So at
Mm-hmm.
least that gives you a better chance of success. So I think number one is the need to be agile. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, I think, and this may not be, I will be unpopular to your Filipino listeners, right? But if there's one thing I hate about the Filipino work culture is when I hear people say, "Pwede na." Pwede na is the Tagalog equivalent of this is fine, this is enough, right? It's compromising on standards, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one thing that I feel I like people to set higher standards.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be contented with how things are being done today. Let's
Mm-hmm.
find a better way to do that tomorrow. And I think Marilyn, that's a difference. Filipinos, we are proud of having a survivor's mentality, right?
Yes.
We are survivors, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But
Very
Marilyn,
resilient as well, if I may add.
right? Correct, right? We are survivors. We are resilient, but a survivor and a winner are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
A survivor finishes the race. A winner gets the medal in the race, right? So I think we should not be contented with being survivors. We need to develop a winner's mentality. And I hope the next generation of Filipinos will
Mm-hmm.
improve on our generation. They have to have that winner's edge, right?
Right.
And third, since I already mentioned the word generation, I think one of the problems here is the intergenerational diversity at work, where you
Mm-hmm.
have some baby boomers and Gen X mostly at the top, and underneath us would be mostly millennials and Gen Z. These are
Mm-hmm.
different generations with different, perspectives in life. So I think the challenge here is how do we get the most out of the millennials and the Gen Zs, right? We know that our style won't work with them, but they are the future, right? So we need to adjust to them in the same way that they need to adjust to us. It has to be two ways.
What are the important leadership capabilities or skills you must
Right.
have in next normal to continue to lead effectively? Having to share like the problems already that you've raised earlier.
Right, right. I think in the in the new normal, and this is related to my previous point about the workforce
Mm-hmm.
becoming predominantly, millennials at the middle manager and supervisory level, and
Mm-hmm.
then at the rank and file entry level will be the Gen Zs, right? So we are now in the minority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leaders need to be humble.
Yes.
By that, let me elaborate. When we started working, we were taught to be humble enough to learn from the seniors, from the elders, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
nowadays, now that we are old, we need to be humble enough to learn from the young ones because the pace of change is so fast, right? That
Mm-hmm.
there are so many things that they know that we don't, especially when it comes to technology, right?
True. Yeah.
And that's why millennials and Gen Zs don't like it when we tell them how to do things because
Right.
they know they can do it maybe faster, simpler, or better than us, right? And so we need to change our language, right? So I guess to go back to your question, I think the biggest leadership skill we need to develop is
Mm-hmm.
how to engage the
Mm-hmm.
workforce. By engage, it means how do we get their commitment? Not just follow. Follow is easy. It's just
Yeah.
about penalties and rewards, right?
Mm-hmm.
By
Mm-hmm.
engage, it means they are so committed, they will go the extra mile. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to get the that level of engagement, I think
Mm-hmm.
we need to better understand what makes the Gen Zs and the millennials different from us. And I can summarize that with one word. And I think purpose is more important to this
Oh.
generation than it
Mm-hmm.
ever was in our generation. When I say ours, I mean not you and me, because you're surely much younger than me. But
Thank you.
but I think the younger generation. Let me just group it together. I think the younger generation, purpose matters more to them than it ever did to the older generations, your generation and mine included. And so, therefore, what they are looking for is leaders who will make them feel what I'd say purposeful. I listened to a TED talk on this one and I was blown
Mm-hmm.
away. Purposeful means being able to apply your best self, your
Mm-hmm.
strengths, your passion on the things that matter most to you,
Most of you.
right?
Yeah.
So it's about helping the young ones find their strengths,
Mm-hmm.
discover their passion, and
Mm-hmm.
applying it to meaningful work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that at the end of the day, they go home feeling fulfilled because what they did was important, right? And they played a big part in
Mm-hmm.
achieving
Right.
that important goal, right? So, and aside from that, aside from being invested in their growth and development,
Mm-hmm.
it's also about the ability to communicate, right? I think a leader, I keep telling this to my people, if you want to be a good leader, you need two things, right? When it comes to people, one is
Mm-hmm.
the ability to communicate, right? That's the first C, and the second C is the capacity to care, right?
Yes.
You can talk. That's communicate. But if that is about, you know, serving my interest, there's no care in that. You won't
Mm-hmm.
go any places. On the other hand, you may have the capacity to care for people, but
Mm-hmm.
unless you are able to communicate that to them, that is
Mm-hmm.
also useless. So you need to communicate. You need to care more, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that is the secret uh, to managing the young ones.